What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Crunch Time on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Looks like we should be pretty much weather-free for baseball this afternoon. Welcome here with TJ, here with Justin. Lots going on here today. TJ, I'll start with you. I saw it seems like someone was saying you've barely taken a day off, if any, over the past few months here at RotoGrinders. Busy man behind the scenes. Just want to thank you for all that you do here, both on the show and behind the scenes for the people.
Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate that. I really enjoyed this last week off that I had. Great All-Star break, plus Steve is now back, and so feels good to be back in my normal hosting and producing chair here on the weekends, and looking forward for a little break so we can refresh for football season. And of course, we will still have some Spidey bombs every 50 likes if the people are smashing the like button. We were hot yesterday. We had the Cubs parlay. We had Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle Tucker, and Michael Busch all parlayed the home run together. So really nice day yesterday. Let's keep it going today.
Yeah, Justin, how many of those are going to be home runs off of Miles Mikolas today?
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. My Cardinals are fading a bit, but that's okay, I guess. There were no expectations this year, so we'll see what they can do down the stretch. But yeah, it hasn't been a good couple of games out of the break for the Cardinals. Sonny Gray got knocked around last night, so it was a rough slate. We talked about it last night, a rough slate for pitching. And there just weren't a whole lot of high pitching scores out there to be had last night. So if you got the home runs right, that's what you needed to cash last night. And those middle of the order Cubs bats keep getting the job done. Tougher task today with the wind blowing in at Wrigley and Garrett Crochet on the mound. So I don't think we'll have as much Cubs love today, but nonetheless, interesting slate. And FanDuel is going back old school and giving us all the games today. Even the 4:00 games are on the FanDuel slate today. So it really is two different and completely different slates if you're playing on FanDuel versus playing on Draftkings today, with FanDuel adding Coors plus the later games, which they've never done. I mean, I've been doing the articles on Sundays for years, 7 or 8 years, and I cannot remember a time when FanDuel added the later games. You know, maybe when DFS first started, it was kind of an all-day thing, and it was like that with football too, right? You get the whole day of games, including Sunday night football, Monday night football, but it's been a while since we've had that in baseball. So I was surprised to see FanDuel do that today. Made my job a little tougher this morning, but I do kind of like that slate over there.
Content perspective, more games, harder.
Especially when it's different between the two sites.
Fantasy, better, more games, better for me.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out. I understand your frustration. Today, I always like to get a rating. I'd give DraftKings I like the DraftKings version today. Give me the 8 or 9 games, I guess. But there's a lot of extra pitching on FanDuel today, which we'll get into probably just a little bit. Maybe even right now. Again, hit the like button. I'm keeping an eye on that. We'll get some Spidey bombs. I've got, actually, the one bet I had on scores and odds. I got a couple other ones that I haven't written up yet. I'll throw it to you for those as well. But Justin, let's go in pitching, and maybe we can talk a little bit about the different sites. I'll bring up SimLabs, which is mainly for DraftKings, but on FanDuel, you get in addition to that, you get what do you get? You get Brian Wu, you get Hunter Brown, you've got maybe a couple other guys you might be interested in, probably not at their price range, but you get 2 other kind of stars over there today. So between Crochet and Pivetta on DraftKings, who would you want to basically anchor your teams around at the high end? And then on FanDuel, mix in Wu and Hunter Brown, who you got over there at the top?
Yeah, so on DraftKings, I think our ownership projections are about right. I do prefer Crochet with the wind blowing in there. I mean, the Cubs are barely projected for 3 runs. I know they're a really good offense, but Crochet is about as matchup proof as it gets. But he's also going to be close to 50% owned. So I don't really have a strong take with ownership factored in on Crochet against Pivetta. I prefer Crochet in a vacuum, but I also acknowledge that his matchup against the Cubs offense is tougher than the matchup against the Washington offense for Pivetta. So no real strong lean there. I probably got them about where we have them in projected ownership, maybe slightly overweight on both of them. I think you're playing one of those two guys if you're spending up. Like, it's not enough of a discount down to Bubic or Suarez. Maybe Mackenzie Gore if you're really feeling to go risky in a tournament. But it's Crochet and Pavetta, I think, pretty clearly at the top. And I think what's interesting on the FanDuel slate is, a lot of times people will build their lineups on DraftKings and they'll kind of analyze the slate, and then that analysis will kind of carry over to what they're doing on FanDuel if they're playing on both sites. And so naturally you see a tendency for these guys that are pitching later on FanDuel to be a little bit underowned. And I think on FanDuel, I like Hunter Brown the most. His strikeout rate is basically the same as Crochet's for the year, pitching in a decent park against Seattle. Seattle's got some pop, but there's some outs in that lineup too. So definitely going with Hunter Brown in tournaments on FanDuel. On DraftKings, it's Crochet and Pavetta pretty clearly. And then SP2, I mean, you can play both of them if you find value bets you like. But if you're going cheaper for SP2, I'm probably going all the way down to Jeffrey Springs, who's like in the 5Ks against that Cleveland lineup. I mean, Cleveland does not have a good offense outside of Jose Ramirez. That game has a 7.5 total. I think Gavin Williams is fine too, but Springs is just so cheap that it really makes the bats work if you go Crochet Springs or Pavetta Springs. Those would be my probably optimal cash game pairings, one of those two pairings, I think.
Yeah, the projections seem to like Gavin Williams a reasonable bit over Springs, but I don't know. I'm kind of with you. I like Springs as the cheaper SP2.
Yeah. I did tag Williams on FanDuel because they're basically the same price.
Yeah, I get it.
But on DraftKings, that's a $1,200 difference, and I'll take Springs with the $1,200 savings over Williams.
Yeah, and it's reasonably hard today because there's so much pitching that you don't love your bats unless you really maybe go cheap at one of the pitchers. And there's not a lot of outside of the Pirates catcher, Chiaro, or the White Sox catcher, Chiaro, at 2,800 on DraftKings. There's really not any sub 3K guys that you actually want to click into your lineups today like we usually have. So it's a little bit tougher on DraftKings to get all the bets that you want in, and I think Springs is a reasonable key to unlocking that. So TJ, I'm going to throw it to you. Crochet or Pavetta on DraftKings, and you can even mix in on FanDuel Brown and Woo. I know Justin's on Brown. I like Woo, basically getting close to an all right-handed lineup. You get the really good side of his splits there against Houston. Him at home. There's just a lot going on for Woo today. So I really like Woo over on FanDuel. I don't think you can go wrong between him or Brown. I think they're both going to have an excellent game. But gun to my head, I'd probably take Woo. You got how you going to change that up on FanDuel when you can mix in Crochet and Pavetta over there as well?
Yeah, I wish we could have spread out some of these ace pitchers among the last couple of days instead of getting them all today. But on FanDuel or on DraftKings, if I'm just choosing one of Crochet or Pavetta, I will go Crochet. Even though I never stack against the Cubs, I'm just really looking to go all in on this win game, just like I did yesterday, but in reverse. And so Garrett Crochet will be my first choice of those two. I think I do lean Hunter Brown with cards, but I also really like the Woo call on FanDuel. On FanDuel, I probably would just be sticking to those absolute ace tiers, where on DraftKings, where we need an SP2, I am willing to look at the guys like Jeffrey Springs as an SP2. I don't want to, but I am playing 150 lineups, so there is a small part of me that's tempted to play Andrew Heaney at a cheap price tag against a chalky White Sox team. And then I'll mix in some Jansen Junk, Jose Soriano, Cade Horton as SP2s. I don't mind Gavin Williams, and I don't even think it's crazy to look at guys like a David Peterson in the mid tier. But I'm probably going to be sticking to 9K and above, 7,100 and below on DraftKings. So I'll be looking at Crochet as number 1, Bubic 2, Pavetta 3, Suarez, Gore 4, Suarez 5, but I think I want to play all of them in some capacity. And then for SP2s, I think I would go Springs 1, Horton 2, Williams 3, Soriano 4, Junk 5, Heaney 6.
Yeah, you mentioned Bubic. He's on SimLabs, coming in as one of the highest optimal minus projected, simply because people are going to play Crochet and Pavetta, rightfully so, over him, and he's just a little bit cheaper, maybe a couple $100 cheaper. So no one's playing him against Miami, who I don't know. I think they were overperforming during that little bit of a hot stretch. Where do you stand on Bubic? It seems like TJ liked him. Justin, if he's coming in as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th highest owned pitcher today, that makes a lot of sense why he's popping in SimLabs over.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday he would have been the ace. It's just the context of the slate that there's so many guys to choose from today, and he just kind of falls in the cracks there because of the salary. And it's just a natural tendency to say, hey, I'm going to get up to Pavetta or Crochet if I'm at that salary. But at the same token, we got to understand that this is a game of variance, and the projection between, Crochet and Bubic is only like 3 or 4 points different. And Bubic is going to be, a quarter of the ownership. So I understand the logic there. Good matchup against the Marlins. And he is in my GPP pool as well. And I don't think that's a bad call.
Let's kind of suss out some of these other tournament plays. I think TJ hit on just about all of them. There's certain guys that I almost have no interest today because you have Crochet, Pavetta, Suarez. Gavin Williams can have a good game, even though I think we're both, at least me and Justin, down on him a little bit compared to projections. Bubic can have a good game. Holmes can have a good game. So you have guys like Mackenzie Gore can have 40 fantasy points, DraftKings points.
Yeah, Gore's the other. I mean, Gore has a 30% strikeout rate.
Yeah.
Like the upside with him is not non-existent. So he's the guy I'd pick out of there. If you're wanting a sub 5% owned guy that's got a ceiling, that's the guy.
Yeah, so I think that's where a lot of the ownership's going to go. TJ had Andrew Heaney. What do you think about him against Chicago? Right where, if Springs is 18% and Andrew Heaney is 3%, does Heaney outdo Springs 1 out of every 4 times instead of 1 out of every 5 times? I mean, I think they're probably reasonably close, maybe 1 out of every 3 times today. And you're getting it, the ownership isn't reflecting that today.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I'm on the White Sox bats a little bit I try to get some lineups with Crochet and Pavetta together, and that was one of the only ways to do it. And the White Sox, I don't know what, maybe they did something over the break. They got 20 runs in 2 games to start the series. So, I understand the logic behind Haney, and I'm not going to argue with anybody that puts him in their player pool. He's just not in mine.
For what it's worth, I'm only going to have like 5%. If I am going to do the double cheap, I probably would rather do the junk and Springs, as Marie Uneasy said in chat.
Yes,
junk.
Would we play junk over Heaney for 300 more? The strikeouts haven't been there, but he's been pretty good, right, Justin?
He doesn't walk anybody.
Yeah.
He walks nobody. So, that helps him get a little deeper in the games. Like, I'm pulling up his.
He's Brian Wu of the NL.
38 Ks and 4 walks in 50 innings. So 4 walks in 50 innings, like you can't fake that. So I don't mind him. There's not a huge ceiling because of the lack of Ks, but.
And then TJ, you mentioned David Peterson. I think you'd probably play Peterson over Abbott today. I'm not on. I like Abbott in general. I've liked him for betting on the Reds in their first 5, but I haven't really been using him too much in DFS. If I was going to use one of those today, I think it's definitely Peterson over Abbott, right?
Yeah, no Alonso in the lineup, so I don't think you're crazy to play Abbott, but there's just so many great pitchers on the slate. Peterson and Abbott did not make my cut, but they would be the next 2 if I were to put 2 more in.
What would you do in that matchup, Justin, if you had to pick one of those guys? Abbott or Peterson, Justin? You had to pick.
Yeah, I don't love either. I'd probably take Peterson if I had to choose one, but I X them both out.
All right. And then real quick, Grant Holmes, 7,500. I can go over to offense here. If the Yankees are going to be the highest owned stack of the day, Holmes has the ability to have peak performance. Justin, does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, I'm underweight on the Yankee bats. So, it's he's had some really good outings. He's had some terrible ones. He was terrible his last start before the All-Star break against the Cardinals. I watched that, and he couldn't hardly throw a strike. So a little bit worrisome given that he's facing the Yankees. But, if he was 5-6% owned, I think I would like it. If Holmes really is going to be, we've got him at like 14 right now. That's kind of high. I mean, I wouldn't mind sprinkling him in, but I'm not going all out with that. I'd probably be even with the field.
All right. So I think we touched on just about every pitcher. Guys, you probably don't play Aaron Savali, don't play Marcus Stroman, don't play Jose Soriano. I think we're all in agreement with that today, right?
I think you can play Jose Soriano.
Yeah, just a little bit against the Phillies.
Yeah, like I'm gonna have Phillies as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Jose Soriano is good enough that you can play him anyways for a cheap price tag. It's super low ownership.
All right, TJ, I'm going to stick with you on offense on this for tournaments over here. What do we want to do? Let's see. Which one do I want to click here? Hold on. There we go. So we've got the Braves and the Yankees. That game's got, what, a 10.5 total? Is it Stroman? Is it Holmes? Or is it the Yankees bats? Is it Atlanta's bats? Which team would you rather have in that one? Then the next we see the Pirates and the White Sox. I mean, these are just, two very pitiful offenses, but they're going against very pitiful pitching today. It seems like everyone's going to be taking the bats over the pitching today. Is that a mistake? Are you skipping over them to play some of the other teams? What do you think of how the ownership's stacking out in terms of offense?
Yeah, it's a really tough slate to figure out what you want to do offensively. There's no slam dunk. Hey, this is the team you got to play, right? The highest team totals, the two highest team totals, while the Braves have passed them. When I wrote the article this morning, the two highest team totals were the Phillies at 5.1 runs, and the Phillies are facing a guy that's got like a 3.8 ERA. I mean, Jose Soriano is not a gas can. And so the Phillies had the highest team total, and the Pirates had the highest team total at a little over 5 runs. When's the last time the Pirates have had the highest team total on any slate? Let alone an 8-game or 9-game slate, whatever this is on DraftKings. Now the Braves are up to 5.5 now because that total went up half a run or a run since then. But any slate where the Pirates are projecting as one of the highest scoring offenses, you kind of have a little bit of a free-for-all. So I don't mind getting a little bit different today. I just mentioned a minute ago I'm underweight on the Yankees because I respect Grant Holmes enough. I like some one-offs there, but not stacking the Yankees. I do think the Braves are probably my number one stack. The Pirates are there as well just because I don't mind picking on Savali, and they're really cheap outside of O'Neal Cruz. And then I do like the White Sox. If you're looking to go sneaky, the Mets against Abbott, I think, are okay with their right-handed power bats. Abbott's got good surface numbers, but his advanced stuff isn't spectacular. So Braves, Pirates, White Sox, Mets as a sneaky team. It's kind of where I'm at.
TJ, I see you have Brent Rooker as Spidey Bomb number 1 out here today. Don't want to, I'm taking that away from you, but I think the team I would have a lot of interest in today from a lower ownership is definitely the A's against Williams. You're getting a low-owned offense against a pitcher that's going to draw some ownership too. I think that's some nice synergy.
Agreed. Yeah, that's my top sneaky stack of the slate that I wrote up in the expert survey is the Athletics. Gavin Williams is not a bad pitcher by any means, but he's going to pick up some ownership, and I do think he's beatable. And so I really like the power bats, maybe more as a mini stack than a full stack. Do some Kurtz, Langoliers, and Rooker would be my favorite way to go about the A's today. But on DraftKings, Atlanta is going to be my top stack. I don't have any lineup builds set yet. I should have that out in about 10 minutes, ready to go to give people my exact exposures. But I love the A's as a sneaky stack. Athletics will be my number 1. If I'm choosing between the cheap punt teams, it will be Pittsburgh for me over the White Sox, but I will be playing some White Sox as well. That's about it for teams that I really like. I'll play some Philadelphia. I will play some Cleveland. I will play maybe a little bit of Miami, just because I like their prices. Play a little bit of KC just in case, but really don't like this slate for offense that much whatsoever. I will probably be about even to the field with the Braves and the Yankees. Honestly, I'll probably be pretty close to even to the field on most of these teams, except for the Athletics, which I will be drastically over. And then on FanDuel, like the Twins are the clear top stack. I do love the Rockies lefties against Joe Ryan, though. Rockies lefties against Joe Ryan are one of my favorite spots on the slate. Mickey Moniak, Ryan McMahon, absolutely great plays today. And then I also really like Arizona over there against Cards' guy, Miles Michaelis.
Yeah, the Twins lineup, there's no Buxton, so it's Larnach, Castro, Correa. Clemens is up, hitting fourth. The top of that lineup's all cheap, getting them in cores, so you can make a priority probably 2 or 3, maybe even 4 of those. Larnach is he'll probably get pinch hit for if a lefty comes in, just know that. But he is leading off, probably get at least 3 at bats out of him. He's a reasonable price, 3,500. And then you got Castro is 3,500, Clemens is 3,000. Those are probably where I'd be looking to spend at least on FanDuel over there today. All right, we'll get into position by position. First, I need to tell you guys about RotoGrinders Combo Pro. You can get the MLB DFS annual option. It's $425. The price of the combo product is the same as the MLB annual package at this point. You can get more stuff for the same price. You can save about 35% getting the monthly option or getting the 6-month option instead of paying month by month. You can get MLB, PGA, and more. Make sure to check that out if you like things like SimLabs, Lineup HQ. If you want to read Justin's article on the weekends or anything else, read TJ and the expert survey. I don't do a lot of written stuff. I just show up on the shows every once in a while on the weekend. But if you want to check out TJ and Justin's stuff, make sure to check all that out. All right, let's get position by position. Catcher's not too interesting today. A spot you're probably going to want to save a little bit of money here today, Justin. Kiero's 2,800, Baldwin's 4,000. I think Baldwin's 2,800 on FanDuel. Very much in play, at first base or in the utility over on FanDuel today. As much as you want to get to Matt Olson on FanDuel, you're probably paying $10K plus for a pitcher over there, so you have to make a couple concessions with the bats. I think Baldwin is a fine play over there at FanDuel. But you got Kiero on DraftKings, 2,800. Again, when you're spending up on one pitcher, and if you want to get a Judge or an Acuna, or no, you're not going to get Ohtani over on DraftKings. But if you want Judge or Acuna, you got to start saving some money somewhere.
Yeah, and Cuero is, the second highest gross fantasy point projection of any catcher that we've got on DraftKings, and he's basically got the same projection as Baldwin, is a couple tenths or a couple 100ths of a point, actually. So if you sort it by point per dollar, he's clearly the number one guy. Not saying that he's great by any means, but he's been decent against lefties in a limited sample. Hitting third for the White Sox today. They are projected to score some runs. So, on a points per dollar basis, he's definitely your number one guy. In cash games, it's either him or Baldwin. Probably it's probably not even a discussion for anybody else. David Fry has some decent historical metrics against lefties. He doesn't have a ton of at-bats this year because he was injured for the first half of the season, but he's back and hitting second for Cleveland. So if you're not on Springs, I think David Fry is okay. Langoliers, those are guys you could look to as kind of GPP pivots. Maybe Logan O'Hoppe if you're looking for some power, but it's either Baldwin or Cuero for cash games, and that's probably the end of that discussion.
Yeah, if I sort by optimal today, TJ, it's guys like Ben Rice, Salvador Perez, Langoliers from Oakland that Justin just mentioned here. Of some of these guys that are drawing a little bit lower ownership, do you have a favorite there? And then what does your ownership look like overall?
Langoliers is definitely going to be my favorite of the lower owned guys here. Cuero probably my favorite overall. Hold on, let me just switch to catcher tab. Joey Bart's batting sixth today against Savali. I love Drake Baldwin at 4K. And then as like a low-owned option, I don't mind Agustin Ramirez batting second today as a one-off against Bubic.
All right, let's go to first base. Matt Olson is the flavor of the day. You could get a lefty against Marcus Stroman. You're probably going to want to pencil them into your lineups. Olson not having the greatest season, but it's good enough in one of the theoretically best matchups you're probably going to get, at least when you're facing the starter today. You can pencil him in on DraftKings. He's 5,300. Really, I know Kurtz is 4,600. I know TJ is going to be all over him. I mean, he's having a great season there, but I think I'd still pay a little bit more for Olsen today, Justin.
Yeah, they finally got Kurtz's price up, at least close to where it needs to be. So if you're paying up, it's definitely Olsen. For me, Bellinger against Holmes is kind of the other pricey option, but A, you can play him in the outfield if you want. B, I just don't think he projects quite as well. And then you're basically at Kurtz, and then you're into I guess Harper maybe in that mix too, but I'm just lower on the Phillies than most because I respect Soriano enough, and I think their team total is a little too high. So yeah, Olsen. I mean, Horwitz leading off as a punt, cheaper play, I think is okay too. On FanDuel, I really like Josh Naylor against Michaelis. I do like Arizona as a stack over there. So I'm not sure if their lineup is out yet. Probably not with that game.
Marte's supposed to be back.
With some of those later games being available on FanDuel, you're not going to have all those lineups yet. Arizona's not out yet. But on DraftKings, Olsen, Kurtz, I think, is fine in GPPs. Horwitz is a cheapie, maybe Miguel Vargas as well. That's about it.
I was sorry for interrupting you, but I did want to say Marte, if you are making Arizona stacks, he is supposed to be back today. So I think you can tentatively pencil him into your FanDuel team if you're looking for some of those Arizona bats against Michaelis, which you probably want to be doing. TJ, Olsen drawing a quarter of the ownership. That's a lot for 16 teams, but I understand why. Because if you're not playing him, you can maybe say Bellinger too a little bit here. It's just a bunch of 3K crappers kind of thrown in there today. There's not a lot at first base. What are you doing?
Yeah, Olsen, I do agree, is kind of like the objective top guy, but checking now, he's my highest owned, but I'll be underweight. So I have 17% Matt Olsen. My first round of lineups just came in. Nick Kurtz, my second highest owned guy. Third, I don't know how much I'm playing him at first. I'll probably be getting in a little bit more in the outfield, but Cody Bellinger, I really like tonight with his new first baseman eligibility over there on DraftKings. Cheapies, I think you can play Horwitz. I think you can play Vargas. And then I do really like Bryce Harper as well. I'm not hugely high on the Phillies as a stack. I saw Mario Donizzi say, where would you rank the Phillies as a stack? I would probably rank them 6th behind Atlanta, New York, Athletics, Pittsburgh, White Sox, then Philly. But I do really like a mini stack of Schwarber and Harper.
Why don't you get Spidey Bomb number 2 out there too?
Yeah, I'll get it scrolling right now. I did drop it in the YouTube chat already. It is Shea Langeliers, Shea Langeliers, plus 475, the second one. And then the third Spidey Bomb, we have Ozzy Albies at plus 700 today. Bombs in back-to-back games. Hopefully he can keep that hot streak going.
Yeah, Albies, I think, is a really good one. If he's finally, he's been in a slump almost all season. If that's coming around for him, he's not going to stay. A half a season slump is a pretty long time for baseball. But, if his bat's starting to get hot, that's a really nice price on him. So I like that call quite a bit. Going to second, speaking of Ozzy Albies, Justin, both sites, he fits in. He's cheap. How do you not want to play him today against Stroman?
Yeah, I think he's a solid play there, especially if you think he's, kind of coming out of that funk. Perhaps the All-Star break did him some good. 3,400 there on DK. Solid cash game, GPP. You can play him in any format. If you're looking for a total punt, if you are going for that double expensive build, or you're going for an expensive stack and you need a punt, I think Nacho Alvarez he's min salary basically on DraftKings, and a $2,200 bat has some value today, right? I understand he's not the most explosive bat the Braves have, but if everybody wants to play the Braves, he's not hitting 9th or 8th, at least he's hitting 7th. He's $2,200. You can play him at second, or you can play him at third. I have no issue with Alvarez at that salary on a slate where you might need it. So Albies, I think, individually at second base is probably going to be the more popular play. But if you need to punt somewhere, I think Alvarez either at second or third. I won't mention him again at third, but just know you can play him at either spot. Nick Gonzalez, another guy that kind of fits that mid-range mold. He's sitting cleanup for the Pirates. They've got a high total. Underweight on Jazz Chisholm. He's just too expensive for me, and against Holmes at that salary, I just don't think that's the optimal use today. So this is a position where I would generally recommend going cheaper. Gonzalez, Albies, Nacho Alvarez, Meadroff, maybe. Those are my guys.
What do you like here, TJ?
Yeah, Albies is going to be my number one guy here for sure. Wow, that's not true. I ended up getting 35% Jazz Chisholm. So Chisholm is my number one guy with Albies number two. In terms of just second base eligibility, it'll be Albies one. But those are the top two guys I'm going with the most. I like the Nacho Alvarez call. Nick Gonzalez, I'm getting to a decent amount. And then Angel Martinez for Cleveland. I'm not getting a ton of Cleveland stacks, but Martinez is still nice and cheap here. So he would be the next option. Those are the only guys that I'm playing outside of stacks.
Yeah, I'm looking at Martinez. I think in the outfield a little bit more because there's not cheap outfield at all. He's basically him and Stanton. I think as a couple $100 more. Those are like the cheapest guys in the outfield on DraftKings. I'm really interested in today. Let's go to third.
For what it's worth, Bonesy SP bringing up a great chat point. I didn't realize, Justin, you brought up or maybe it was Britt brought up that Marte might be back tonight. If you want to hold off for that lineup and try and fade Albies in cash, Marte is the cash game option if he plays at only 2,900.
Yeah, I mean that's he's 2,900 on DraftKings today. I didn't even realize that.
Unless they accidentally looked at Starling Marte.
No, he is 2,900. That's
a
really good
top
price.
option on FanDuel if he's back.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see that in there. I guess I didn't even assume he would be 29.
You said DK there, Britt. Are you talking FanDuel?
Yeah, Kettle Marte is 2,900 on FanDuel today. That seems, if he's supposed to be back, the latest news was he's supposed to be back on Sunday. Yeah, he'll be back in action on Sunday. Is the latest on there. So 2,900 fit him in. A couple other guys that are 2,900, like a Jason Dominguez or a Kettle Marte. I mean, that's pretty easy. Kettle Marte for me against Michaelis today. So,
maybe that you keep that as your utility position and you're playing 2 second basemen today and you're rolling out Albies and Marte.
Yeah, I think that's a nice pointer there.
Or Cody Clemens and Marte.
Yeah, let's go to third base. And this is where, TJ ended up with a lot of Jazz Chisholm. I think probably because he's second and third on DraftKings. But if you had to pick Justin today at the top, this is a position I'm finding myself spending on, either a Jose Ramirez. On FanDuel, you've got Cody Clemens, but Cody Clemens is first, second, third, and outfield. You're probably going to want to find a way to get Cody Clemens onto your FanDuel team somehow. But if you got to pick between Jazz Chisholm or Jose Ramirez today, who you got at the top if you're trying to break that tie? We have Manny Machado as the highest owned, and against Mackenzie Gore, I don't get that at all. I understand maybe because he's just a little bit cheaper than both of those guys, and you need a couple extra dollars on DraftKings here and there, but that wouldn't be a concession I would make. I'd play Ramirez or Chisholm over Machado easily today.
Yeah, this is the trickiest position, I think, for me today because I'm with you on Machado against Gore, just not a priority. I mentioned at the last position that I thought Chisholm was a bit overpriced. But then Springs is like my favorite SP2 as a cash game, GPP, anything. He's really cheap. So the question becomes, can you play Springs and Jose Ramirez together? On DK, I think you can, just because it's kind of a weird context with this slate. Or you can just go cheaper here. I mean, if you want to try to figure out Mark Vientos for the 80th time this season, he is hitting cleanup again. So I'm probably a glutton for punishment there. I have no problem playing Mark Vientos at that salary, but I maybe haven't been burned by him as much as some other people have. Again, Nacho Alvarez, this is probably the spot. If you want to punt him, you can put him in third instead of second. So I find myself going cheaper here, maybe a little bit more than the masses do. I understand the logic behind any of those top three guys. I just have my reasons for not playing them, be that I just mentioned. So I don't know. This is a tough position for me today.
Yeah, TJ, how are you breaking this down at third base? Is this why you're getting so much Jazz, because he's split between second and third for you?
Yeah, so I'm getting to Jazz is my number one option, Jose Ramirez too, but they're going to occupy over 50% of my third base exposure today. I'm getting to a ton of both of them. If I'm not playing one of the two expensive options, I'm full on punting to Nacho Alvarez or Mark Vientos. Those four are by far my four favorite options. Only other ones I'd be willing to sprinkle are like Brian Hayes in a stack, Michael Garcia in a stack. That's really the only other guys that I'm interested in. I think Manny Machado is bad chalk against Mackenzie Gore.
Yeah, I would say I would probably have that lower. I would put Jazz specifically, and then Ramirez maybe even above Machado today. All right, so if we didn't like third base too much, we like the top options, but after that, it's pretty difficult, Justin. I don't like anybody at shortstop today. There's not really anybody I want to play. On FanDuel, we have Mookie Betts, who is hitting leadoff for the first time today. He's not really having an overall great season. He's 3,300 on FanDuel. You don't have him as an option on Draftkings today. And you look at the guys that are high priced, CJ Abrams, probably not going to want to play him. Bobby Witt against Junk, I can understand that, but Junk's been pretty good. Trey Turner, probably not there today. De La Cruz against Peterson, I don't know. Neto against Suarez, probably not. Lindor against Abbott, if you think Abbott's pretty good, like I have been, I don't know. Nobody. Xander Bogaerts is just horrible. Meadroth, I forgot how you pronounce his name. If you want, two or three, you want two singles in a run, sure, but for a tournament outside of stacking the White Sox, I think he's probably the worst possible click you can make on the board today. There's just not a lot I like. Jacob Wilson, maybe. You get a little bit of leverage against Cleveland. I don't know, nothing I really like at this position.
Yeah, it all kind of stinks, which is rare for shortstop. Just the way the matchups work out. I mean, I tend to think that Bobby Witt's a little bit overrated in general. I hate to say that out loud when he, just might go nuts here at some point, but his metrics just aren't spectacular. They're fine, but not a guy that I want to pay almost $6,000 for as chalk. FanDuel still has O'Neal Cruz at shortstop, which I really wish we had on DraftKings because that would make this a lot easier. Unfortunately, we don't, so I can't just make that up. Turner, I think Turner's fine, but again, I'm underweight the Phillies. Lefty, Ellie against a lefty, don't love. Like I fall in the same boat. Like I've been just kind of filling this position in last or whoever's in your stacks. Lindor, I like. I mean, if I had to pick one for GPP upside at the salary, Lindor is probably the play. But like you, there's just not a lot of conviction here, I don't think, at this position today.
Yeah, I think I would very clearly be underweight the top two names here. I mean, even in a stack, I don't know if I'd play Meadroth for the White Sox. It's just his upside is just so limited unless it's three singles and two runs and an RBI and a steal or something like that. And that can happen, but it's so rare. It's just more likely, a couple of singles and a run, and that might do it for you in a stack. But I don't know. Position's bad. I understand it, but not somewhere I'm looking. TJ, what exactly are you looking at? When I see Xander and Chase as the top two own shortstops, this is a position I would be doing everything I can to not use those guys and use other players.
Yeah, Francisco Lindor is going to be my number one here. He's my favorite option. He's not too expensive, and against a fly ball pitcher. So Lindor is going to be my number one. Bobby Witt number two. Jacob Wilson number three. Projection systems don't really seem to realize how good he is, and so he always has low ownership. And so Jacob Wilson, I really like. Getting some Trey Turner, Otto Lopez, Kiner Falefa, Volpe. I'm with you guys though. I have 5% Meadroth and I have no Xander Bogaerts. I'm fully fading the Padres today.
Yeah, I want to know. I didn't know the Padres. We're not really playing them too much today, but Jackson Merrill got scratched, so their lineup has changed a little bit. So if you were stacking the Padres maybe 15 minutes ago, Merrill got scratched. Make sure to check your lineups or do something because you'll get a 0 if you're playing him today. And I do have TJ. I'm on the Jacob Wilson train. He's on my DraftKings cash team right now. Just give me a couple of hits, a chance at a run, an RBI. He's got a lot more power than Amidroth does too. So I just think there's a little bit more upside to him at the $4,100 price tag. Someone I like quite a bit today. All right, let's go to the outfield. All right, let's play Judge or Acuna. We can throw in Ohtani on FanDuel. Justin, let's rank those three. I'll start with you.
Acuna, Judge, and Ohtani. Is that what you're asking? Yeah, I think I like Acuna, then Judge, then Ohtani. That's where I'm going.
I'd probably go. They're all very close. I think I'm an Acuna over Judge, and I'd probably go Acuna, Judge, Ohtani as well. TJ, where do you stand on that?
From like a cash setting, I would go Judge more. For tournaments, I like Acuna more. And then Ohtani would fall below for me on the FanDuel side of things. My highest owned outfielder today is Jason Dominguez. And then it's actually Kyle Schwarber, number 2. And Acuna and Judge are virtually in a tie for three at 18%. O'Neal Cruz coming in after that. I like Jurickson Profar as a salary saving option. Cody Bellinger is like still one of my favorite plays either here or first base. Luis Robert, Brian Reynolds. I think my favorite Pirate today, because he's batting 7th, he's super cheap and he's projecting for really low ownership, is Jack Sawinski, a guy we've seen with power in the past. Don't mind Lawrence Butler. I'll be underweight on Austin Slater. Underweight on Giancarlo Stanton. Yeah, that's about it for things of note. I'm going to be really overweight on Brent Rooker, really overweight on Jason Dominguez, even to Judge and Acuna, really overweight on Schwarber, and then under on Stanton and Slater.
All right, Justin. So I did the Acuna, Judge, Ohtani. Let's try to suss out the 33 to 35, 3,600 tier on DraftKings. We've got guys like Stanton, Profar, Brian Reynolds, McCutchen. Do you have a favorite out of all those guys? Which one's your favorite in like that mid tier? You're probably going to need one, maybe 2 of those guys on DraftKings.
Yeah, Profar is my favorite. Leading off, I'd probably go. I actually think Luis Robert's okay today. He's got decent numbers still against lefties, even though he's been bad this year. For GPP upside, I think you can play him. Slater in your White Sox stack, I think, is fine, but Profar is my favorite. I like the Braves. He's hitting leadoff. I think they get some runs today. And that's kind of the approach everyone's taking, right? Everyone is going, one of Acuna, Judge, Ohtani on FanDuel, these cheaper guys, and then that 4K range up to like 5,500 is just kind of a wasteland. Other than I do really like O'Neal Cruz. Like if I was playing an optimal outfield today, it's probably Acuna, O'Neal Cruz, and one of those cheap guys that we just ranked. So I really like Cruz against Savali, low strikeout pitcher. Just feels like one of those games where he could go nuts. To play him at shortstop on FanDuel, that's kind of my outfield approach here.
Yeah, so
I forgot to mention it, but like we ranked, Judge, Acuna, and Ohtani on FanDuel. But in terms of FanDuel outfield spend ups, Carroll is my number 1 of anyone.
Yeah, I like Carroll, 4,100. I think I'd still get Acuna is 4,100 too. I think I would still play Acuna over Carroll, but I can understand throwing him into the mix there.
For a tournament, I really like a Carroll Marte mini stack to close out that slate is just beautiful.
Yeah, I bet I didn't write it all up, but I have Carroll and Acuna both total bases, hits, run, RBIs, basically any way you can get my hands on all those guys today in terms of sports betting. I have bets on today. I
didn't do Acuna on that side. I did do Carroll. I didn't do Acuna there, but that was because I was already doing Drake Baldwin and Ozzy Albies on the Braves, and so I didn't want to add too many players from the one team into my multi-team parlay.
I understand. The key is to single them all out, TJ, and just bet all the Braves lefties and then Acuna as well.
I've had 2 really good days in a row because I did that with 2 days ago. I did that with the Angels righties and Kyle Schwarber, and so I had a parlay of Schwarber, Adele, Ward, and Ohapi together, and they all hit of total bases. And they all had 3 of them had home runs. Ohapi had 2 doubles, and so had a really big day 2 days ago. And then yesterday I did it with PCA, Bush, and Tucker. That went really well. If either Romy Gonzalez or Sedan Rafaela would have hit a home run or got 4 total bases, it would have been like a 10-20K day for me yesterday. But hopefully today that's either going to be the Athletics or the Braves for me, because I did go Langoliers, Rooker, Kurtz, and then I also did Baldwin, Albies, Jazz Chisholm, Matt Olson.
I want to know the Diamondbacks lineup came out and Ketel Marte is not in. So he was his house was robbed, I think, over the All-Star break, and apparently it's taken him a long time to get his footing after that. And the Diamondbacks lineup looks pretty trash, honestly. Carroll, McCarthy, Perdomo, Naylor, Suarez. I will note Suarez absolutely owns the soul of Miles Mikolas.
On a night that we really want to spend up for pitching, though, I like having McCarthy in there too. What's his price on FanDuel?
I'm sure he'll get pinch hit for if Lefty comes in, but let's see what McCarthy is at today. Let's see, Jake. Oh, there's a lot of Jakes. Let's go with an M. 2,400. So Jake McCarthy cards or Austin Slater for 2,400 on FanDuel. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, you get similar pinch hit risk for both. I'm fine. I'd go McCarthy.
Where would you stand on that, TJ?
McCarthy.
Yeah, McCarthy's there's definitely a lot more pop to him than Slater. So I think I did have Slater on my FanDuel team. I've just swapped out for Mr. Jake McCarthy. I needed one cheap outfielder. So McCarthy entering the conversation over on FanDuel at 2,400. And I do want to note Suarez, someone you might want to include in your tournament teams over on FanDuel, or hit the sports books for home runs, bases, or hits, runs, and RBIs. I like him quite a bit against Mikolas today. All right, looks like we've got about 10 minutes or so for some questions. You guys can get them into the Discord, into the live stream chat, or you can get them into YouTube, and we will get to those in just a second.
I can't stay past lock today, though, Britt, or at least too far past. No more than 5 minutes. I got a shower, and then I'm interviewing the director for the new Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, all right. So we will, TJ, Mr. Important over here, and I would agree. I don't think we need to sit around too long today doing the slate. So I will keep my word, TJ. I will have us out of here right at lock today. So I'm looking at YouTube over here, and I see unreleased lo-fi music wants to know Royce Lewis, 2,900 on FanDuel. So Royce Lewis or Jason Dominguez, right? They're both 2,900, and I it's Coors and Lewis, but Lewis carries some pinch hit risk for. I think he got 3 at bats. Was it yesterday or the day before? They don't really want to play him a ton. He's always hurt, kind of like Buxton. That's why Buxton has the day off today. I'd probably play Dominguez over Royce Lewis, even though it's a Coors game today. Justin, where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I mean, he's hitting 8th. He's a little too popular. I don't love it. I am fine with a pivot.
TJ, if you're stacking Minnesota, I understand it, but just straight up as like a one-off from a cash game perspective, probably not. For a tournament, maybe it gets a little better.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he has been really difficult, because if you've been playing him a lot this year, you've been losing money. But if you look at his advanced metrics, there's no reason he should be as bad as he is. He's hitting the ball really hard. He's getting some barrels. It's not like his ground ball rate is overly high. And so I would go Dominguez there too. But yes, if it's a twin stack, Lewis, if you need him at that specific position, Lewis is fine.
Captain America, TJ, this one seems pretty in tune to you. He wants to know which one pitcher today you got live or die with today. Maybe break it down between the sites if you have a preference, if Wu or Brown enter into your choices on FanDuel.
Yeah, Wu and Brown both would enter with my choices, but if I have to live or die with this pitcher, I'm saying, yes, upside's important, but like I need somebody who's giving me a good score. This is high dollar. I'm just going Crochet.
Yeah, I think Crochet for me on DraftKings, Woo for me. I'm all wooed up on FanDuel, so I like Woo quite a bit over there. Justin,
going back to my pitching exposure, because we were talking about it earlier, I ended up with 2% Andrew Heaney. So not a I should have even just avoided it as a talking point. He's in 3 of 150 lineups.
Well, that seems about right. That's about where I would have it today as well. Langoliers or Baldwin on FanDuel today. Justin, let's throw that to you.
I'd go with Baldwin. I like him quite a bit.
Yeah, Baldwin's like a key piece for me on FanDuel today, so I like that quite a bit. Suarez, so Suarez instead of Crochet for a single entry today. So Justin, you spent a lot of time looking at pitching for the article. You've looked at it since probably 4 o'clock this morning. Is that a concession you would be willing to make in a single entry tournament?
What was it again?
Suarez over Crochet.
Did they specify site?
That is not.
I was going to say it must be DraftKings because Suarez is actually more expensive than Crochet on FanDuel. So, like, if it's straight up, but Crochet is clearly the answer. If it's DraftKings, you're getting $900 savings. That's fine, but I'd rather play Bubic. I'd rather play Gore. Suarez does not have a ton of strikeouts. I know the Angels strike out a good bit, but I don't have any Suarez in my multi. Mel, I take that back, like 8%. So not a ton of Suarez today.
I do have Suarez over 5.5 strikeouts. So I'm hoping he gets at least 6 today. I do like Suarez quite a bit today. We see Alex wants to know, he's in the live stream chat. He's in the YouTubes. Bogarts as your last piece in cash on DraftKings today. Justin, I'll throw it to you, but my quick thoughts are, I don't think it's going to kill you on draft. He's not my preference, but it's not going to kill you because I don't think there is a good overall shortstop player on DraftKings.
Yeah, shortstop is not good. I do think, it's some clinging on to old memories of him. He's really regressed, but he is hitting clean up today. I don't dislike that. I'm not going to say no.
I'm on Wilson for more. I've made that concession to get up to Wilson and took a bat down elsewhere or saved some money elsewhere.
I ended up getting Lindor because are you doing double spend up for DK Cash or are you doing Springs?
I have Springs, so I'm doing Crochet and Springs are my pitchers current today. Not on the Williams train.
I just put a lineup in right now, and so I did the Crochet and Pavetta together for a DK Cash team. And I was basically looking at it like a Jose Ramirez / Jazz Chisholm and Springs, or Pavetta and Nacho Alvarez. And I went with the Pavetta and Nacho Alvarez.
Yeah, I think you can. That's a reasonable one to take there. I think Pavetta's been really good. We didn't really talk about him too much. How did they think there was some contract stipulation where he was basically unsigned? Was it like till like in the season, Justin, or like right before the season? He was just like floating around for anybody to get. And I mean, he was good last year. Nobody wanted him, and he's lights out this year. What's going on with teams and Nick Pavetta?
Well, I don't know if it's nobody wanted him or nobody wanted to pay the salary that he wanted. But yeah, he's been great. Surprised he's been like this good, but you look at his 4 of his last 5 starts have been at least 23 DK points. He's had a couple in the 30s. So kudos to him. He's showing the doubters what's up.
Falcor wants to know FanDuel single entry, Gavin Williams or Jeffrey Springs. And I don't know. I think on FanDuel with the 4 studs, I don't know how you move away from those guys. I understand why you're doing it to get more bats, but I'm not one of those 4 is going to have like a rocking performance today. I don't think I could do that.
When if I'm trying to get crazy different on FanDuel, it's probably with like, okay, then I'm going to do Mackenzie Gore or Chris Bubic. You know what I mean? Like I'm still going to pick a stud pitcher because somebody's going to have 50 FanDuel points today.
Yeah, there's legit 7 good pitchers that can all have good games over on FanDuel. I don't think I'd be messing around with that second or third tier of pitchers today over there. Alex also wants to know Meadroth or Albies in DraftKings cash. That's not even a question. It's Ozzy Albies by a bajillion miles today, right, Justin?
Yes.
Yeah. So Ozzy Albies all the way. Let's see. We got about 5 minutes left. Couple more. Just looking through here. Do you like a Kurtz, Rooker, Langoliers home run parlay? TJ, you are the master of these. That seems pretty good to me. I could get behind that.
I have that one in today. I did them in combos of 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty good. Coach wants to know DraftKings single entry, Langoliers and Jazz or Baldwin and Machado. Justin, I'll go to you on that one. I think we're all down on Machado. Does the Baldwin upgrade over Langoliers do anything for you?
I'm probably not the best person to ask because I don't like Chisholm as much as the masses do either. So I would take the Baldwin just because he's kind of my preferred option at catcher. But I don't have a strong take on that question specifically.
And I know, TJ, you would probably be on Langoliers Jazz for sure.
Yeah, Langoliers Jazz died by a lot for me.
Yeah, I know how you're headed. I would probably, I just don't like Machado. I'd probably, for that particular combo, I'd probably side with Langoliers Jazz personally on that one. TJ, I'll stay with you on this one. Kurtz or Olsen, DraftKings single entry. Like Olsen's going to be like what, 35%? And like the higher buy-in you get, he's going to be approaching 50%. And Kurtz is just going to be low single digits today. I mean, this is like Olsen's in a great spot, right? But it's not that great of a spot compared to Kurtz at like a 10-1 spread, right?
Yeah, I like going Kurtz there for tournaments quite a bit.
Yeah, if you're stacking Atlanta, obviously you do Olsen, but if you need a one-off first baseman, that's an easy concession to make to make your lineup just a little bit different. And honestly, I don't know if you're really losing too much upside there.
Yeah, Kurtz, Rooker, Langoliers is my favorite mini stack of the slate.
I think we've got most of the questions here. Justin, really quick, we'll get out of here so TJ has time for all of the stuff he's got to do. Give me like a 1 to 2 minute synopsis on starting pitching. People are trying to make a couple of last minute selections.
Yeah, I mean it's clearly Crochet and Pavetta at the top on DraftKings today. Your choice of the two. I prefer Crochet, but it's close. On FanDuel, you can probably add Hunter Brown and Brian Wu to that mix. Britt likes Wu quite a bit. I like Brown as my favorite tournament guy on FanDuel. Cheapies, Gavin Williams at 7,100. Jeffrey Springs at 5,900 on DK is my favorite kind of punt. I don't mind Mackenzie Gore as a more off-the-wall GPP guy. That's kind of my main 5 or 6 that I want to highlight. I don't have an issue going with a Chris Bubich or a Ranger Suarez, but not huge discounts to those guys, so they certainly aren't the priority plays.
And then real quick, this is going to be the last question, and we're going to get out of here. Final answer, everybody. Acuna or Judge for cash? Justin, I'll go to you first.
In cash, I'd probably lean Judge, but in GPPs, I have Acuna ahead of him.
So on DraftKings, I think if you have, it's $200 on DraftKings to get to Judge. If you have $200, I would play Judge. I don't have $200, so I'm on Acuna. On FanDuel, it's a much bigger spread.
100% with that synopsis.
Yeah, on FanDuel, it's a much bigger spread, so I'm just going to take Acuna straight up on FanDuel, if that makes any sense. TJ, same?
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's going to be our last question. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. Click the like button on your way out. Go bet the Spidey Bombs. I think that's about it. Go Orioles. Hopefully they can hold in this first half here. I got a lot of money on that one. Other than that, let's all have a good day. For TJ and Justin, I'm Britt. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we out you.